Hi everyone, today I want to show you the latest and greatest USB fan from CDR King. Let me show you the box that it comes in. Now you might be looking at this and thinking, that's the same as every other USB fan I've seen, what's new? Well, let me tell you. First of all, it has two batteries inside, which means it lasts twice as long. They're the standard 18650 batteries, but there's two of them. Let me show you. One, two. Two batteries, twice the capacity. And you know how long this thing runs? I tested it on its lowest setting and it went for 11 hours. How incredible is that? 11 hours on its lowest setting. Now you might be thinking, okay, that's cool, two batteries, lasts longer, but otherwise it's just the same, right? Nope, it's got another trick. This is normally the off button, but on this one it's a timer. Let me show you. So you can set it for 30 minutes, an hour, hour and a half, or 2 hours. Now that's great because sometimes I use this at night time. I only want to run it for about an hour, maybe 2 hours while I'm drifting off to sleep. But then of course it runs the whole night, you wake up and your battery's dead. Well, with this one, I can just set it for like an hour, hour and a half, and it will automatically turn off. Now let me tell you, it's not accurate. 30 minutes doesn't mean 30 minutes. It's more like 25 minutes. And it's the same for all of the other increments above it. It's not accurate. They've obviously cut costs by eliminating a real-time clock and done some kind of software method. It's good enough to be used as, you know, a rough timer to save your battery, but don't like try and cook eggs using this thing or something. It's not an accurate timer, but it does the job. Now what else has changed from previous versions? Well, the LED light is still the same. That's something I'd actually like to see improved because more and more often I found myself using this LED light, but it's just not bright enough. Let me show you. Now of course you can't really tell the brightness just by seeing it on camera, but it's really not very bright. I'd like to see it brighter, but then at the same time I wouldn't want to see the cost increase too much, but it wouldn't cost much to put a brighter LED in there, I'm sure. But one improvement they have made is the supplied USB cable. With the previous ones I always said throw them away, they're junk, they're really thin wires, they're really badly made. Well, they've actually made a good cable for this one, and do you know what? This actually charges faster. Now of course you'd expect the charging current to be a little bit higher because there's two batteries in parallel, but it's better than that because on the old version with one battery it only charged at about 0.4, 0.5 amp, so not the fastest. But with this one it charges at 1.2 to 1.4 amp, which is much faster, even taking into account that there's two batteries in parallel. Now of course that does taper off as the battery charge increases. Here's another thing. With your old fan, you look at it, yep, turn it on, it works. Then you go out, turn it on, and 5 minutes later it dies because the battery's low and you had no way of knowing. This one has a battery meter built into it. So you can actually see 25, 50, 75, 100% battery. That's really useful because you can check before you go out somewhere and see what the battery percentage is. Also when you're charging, you can see the progress, like, okay, I've charged up to 50%, 75%, very, very good. Oh, for anyone who's wondering, I haven't said yet, it's 300 pesos, which is pretty reasonable. Now a lot of people say to me, hey, you know you can buy that on the street much cheaper. And while I do appreciate them telling me that, there's a reason why I don't buy them on the street. You've probably seen some of these like on Facebook or other places where they've blown up or they've caught on fire. Now I'm not saying that CDR King are perfect, but they're buying these in like the thousands or hundreds of thousands, so they're going to be pretty strict on the quality of what they expect because they don't want to be selling stuff that catches on fire or burns. But the guy on the street, he just wants to buy it as cheap as possible so that he can resell it and make a bit of money. So while I do appreciate people telling me, hey, you can buy it cheaper on this street or that street, personally I'm going to stick to CDR King because I do expect them to do a little bit more research into what they're buying and selling. Plus, if something happens, I can go back to them and say, hey, this isn't right. And you know, there's some kind of like responsibility. So that's the reason why I choose to go to CDR King instead of other places. Now I can't easily show you the strength of the fan, but I can tell you that on the top speed, it's definitely stronger than the other fans they were selling before. It's also a little bit noisy, so if you want to use it somewhere quiet, the top speed is not for you. But on the low speed it still produces a reasonable amount of wind and it's not too noisy. You're definitely going to notice the noise on the higher speeds. Now for a lot of people this won't mean anything, but for the technical people out there, it is a brushless motor. I don't know if you'll be able to see inside there, but it is brushless. Basically it means it's a high quality motor that's going to last longer than the old style DC brushed motors. So for anyone who's curious, yes, it's a brushless motor. Anyway, let's go to my desk, connect a power supply up to this and measure how much power is consumed on level 1, 2 and 3. Like I said, on level 1 it did last for 11 hours straight in my testing. So I've removed the batteries and I've got my watt meter plugged in between the fan and an AC USB power supply. So let's measure how much power is consumed on level 1, 2 and 3. So that's level 1 and our watt meter is measuring around 1.38 watts. Level 2 is measuring around 2.7 watts. And level 3 is measuring about 8 watts. Now just in case you couldn't hear me, level 3 was consuming around 8 watts. Now something to know is I've seen it spike as high as 11 or 12 watts when it first goes up to level 3. So if your USB power supply isn't strong enough, you might not even be able to get it to run at level 3 with the batteries removed. But certainly I think you'd have no problems running at level 1 and 2 with pretty much any USB charger out there. So if you have any questions, put them in the comment section down below, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Thanks for watching.